America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to America's Voice Now. We're discussing this morning the plan to take back our nation. This is part 2 of our Saturday segment, in which we're going to discuss the reality of how we accomplish that goal. There's a date, and there's a time and place. The date is July 4th, 2013, Independence Day. It's an apt date. It's appropriate. What's the goal? And what's the game plan? Well, here it is. We can no longer sit back and wait for someone else to do something. We can no longer say, who's going to stop all this tyranny and the treasonous action that our state and federal governments heap upon us day in and day out? So today, I'm calling upon you, America, to make it end. Today, it ends. Today is the first day when we begin the process of taking our nation back by peaceful civil disobedience and putting our state and federal governments under siege. Today, we commit to bring all state and federal governments, agencies, and branches to a screeching, blood-curdling halt. No more movement of money, no more movement of commerce. Today, we end the fear. Today, there's no more hiding in the shadows. Today, you will get off your fence and you will make a choice. I am an American patriot who will solve this problem. Or, I am choosing the side of slavery and betrayal. In either event, either you are part of the solution or you are the problem. The days of vacillation and hand-wringing and concern and weeping and cowering in fear are over. Today, either we are going to be a nation that stands as a people and take back our nation, or we're going to fall beneath the fist of tyranny. If you're a business or an individual, you can play an active role. If you're a parent, if you're a child, if you are a family, today we're going to begin to take some action. How will we do this? We're going to starve the beast into submission. In fact, we're going to starve it to death. We will bring this entire nation in every state to a screeching halt, economically and peacefully, using the tool of civil disobedience. It'll never work, you say. Okay, don't play. Just remember that either you are an American patriot who will assist in the solution to this problem, or you are part of the problem and you are choosing the side of slavery and betrayal. This won't be easy, and it will require some sacrifice. But I promise you this, the sacrifice that you will insert into your life over the course of the 90 days or so that this will take place will be a far cry less than what you will experience if we take no action. Where we are today as a nation, as a people, is at this point virtually beyond salvage. So you should prepare yourself for some trouble. You should prepare yourself for some discomfort and some hunger and some cold and some fear. But most importantly, you need to prepare yourself and your family for success. Success in restoring our nation to freedom and liberty and the rule of law. Success to morals and a return to ethics and honesty and the courage to take on the hard and painful task of bringing order from chaos. How do you participate? Well, if you are an individual, first you'll prepare yourself and your family. You can start immediately by purchasing food that will get you through this period. What is this period? It's about 90 days. And this is going to be 90 days that will change the world. 90 days that will change the world. And it won't just affect us. Watch and see as this unfolds if this does not have other nations following suit. Countries like Cyprus and France and England. Nations like Russia. Nations like Venezuela. Nations like Mexico and Canada. They will see the success and strive to emulate it. And no longer will the United States be the only pillar of freedom and liberty on the planet, holding up the roof. We're the last vestige, and we're rapidly letting it slip through our hands like sand. If you're an individual, you can prepare yourself. You can buy food in advance. This begins July 4th. So you have from now until July 4th to begin to prepare. You can stockpile some food and water and those things that are necessary for the basics of life. But on July 4th, you'll make the commitment that today we're going to change things. You'll prepare your family. You'll get together the gear that you're going to need, because what we're going to do is we're going to take shifts. Maybe one or 2 days it'll be mom, and then a couple of days it'll be dad, maybe with the kids. And we're going to camp out in front of our state and federal capitals until all of our demands are met. Meanwhile, we're going to simultaneously freeze the flow of money from businesses and individuals into state and federal coffers. If you're a retiree, you're going to begin the process of getting off of direct deposit. You want a check, and you want it cashed. You're not going to deposit it in the bank. You're going to pay your money. You're going to pay your bills with a money order, or deposit only enough money into your bank to cover the checks that you have to write to cover your bills. If you're an employee, you're going to request from your employer a new W-4. This is a form that you get from the IRS where you change the designation of how many exemptions or how many deductions you're entitled to take so that you can adjust your taxation. And you're going to raise it so that you pay no federal taxes. And this way, even if the businesses will not participate with us, the large businesses, I think most small businesses will agree to this readily. But this way, even if large business refuses to play ball, we'll break their back too. There's more than one way to skin the cat. You're going to withhold all your payments starting on July 1st. You're going to withhold all your payments to your bank, your mortgage company, your auto loan, your credit card companies. This will take some discipline. You're going to have to open an account in a bank. Or, if you have enough dedication to the principles of what we're trying to accomplish here, you will need to put these funds into a designated escrow account. These are the monies that you're not going to spend during the course of this 90-day window. You place all of your funds into a designated escrow account, either in a bank or with an attorney's office or however you want to do it, and these funds will be withheld until the state and federal governments capitulate. When they do, the funds have to be available for you to pay. So this isn't like you're going to just stop paying your bills. You're only going to stop paying your bills for this short, brief 90-day window, or until they give. But we're going to make the federal and state governments cry uncle. You're going to purchase only what you need in food and fuel beforehand for a 90-day window. And after that, you're not going to buy anything. No more iPads, no more purchases on eBay, no more computer purchases, no more going to the store. The idea is to freeze commerce in the country, bring it to a screeching halt. If you're a business, you can participate, large or small. You can cease sending in all sales tax. No more employee contribution taxes. You withhold all of that, and you put that into the escrow account. You withhold any payments that are needed or that are made to any federal government agency or state government agency, including sales tax. You withhold all real estate tax payments, and you withhold all corporate payments to banks, mortgage companies, leases, auto loans, credit cards, revolving lines of credit, whatever. You withhold all monies. You cease all orders for new products, and you freeze this country to a standstill. What will this accomplish is your question. Well, the goal of this is to force government to shut down. Not because Congress says so, but because we, the American people, say so. We, the people, are about to rise as a phoenix from the ashes. And we're going to beat them to the punch. We're going to take a break. When we return, we'll explain how businesses get through this window. We'll be right back.
The area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition, including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
It's a call and make your voice heard on the biggest issues making headlines today, or on absolutely anything in your head. Every call I get goes on the air totally unscreened. It's unpredictable and uncensored, and you'll never know what to expect. Anything can and will happen on the next Alan Colmes Show.
And that's who you can catch every weeknight, 9 till midnight. The Alan Colmes Show on the Ozarks Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point, Monday through Friday.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're discussing 90 days that will change the world. This is the plan to take back America peacefully, professionally, morally, ethically, and most importantly, peacefully. If you're a business, you're asking the obvious question: how am I going to survive 90 days without doing any business? Well, that's a good question. Here's the answer. The object is for all commerce nationwide to come to a halt. There won't be any sales taxes for you to have to send in. There won't be any employee contribution taxes, because you're going to tell your employees in advance, as of July 1st, everyone is on a hiatus. It's a temporary layoff. It's only until the federal and state governments cry uncle. This is, ladies and gentlemen, a nationwide strike. A national strike that will bring this nation to its knees economically, politically, socially.
Something tells me, though, that this is a nationwide strike that will not be supported by the AFL-CIO or the SEIU.
Oh, I'm sure it won't.
Because this doesn't fit their plans. They are so dovetailed now into providing money to politicians to support their goals that if you go against the grain of that, they lose their power and influence over the system.
Listen, it doesn't require everyone to participate.
I know, I like it.
That's the beauty of it. It doesn't require everyone to participate. What it does require is that small businesses participate. You store owners, you small companies who are out there manufacturing a product, you retailers, you providers of services, accountants, lawyers, those of you who are out there who are doing a service business, prepare now. Begin the process of preparation for this period. Here's what you have to understand. In order for us to arise from the ashes as the phoenix, the entire thing has to be brought to a halt. The only thing that these bullies will recognize is force equal to the force with which they are currently, for all intents and purposes, killing us. They are using the threat of economic instability. They are using the threat of terrorism when they are in fact the terrorists themselves. Just the talk that you hear alone about things like the diminution of your Second Amendment rights, limiting of your First Amendment rights, the violations of your Fourth Amendment rights against being secure in your person and your place of business and your home, the Eighth Amendment violations against cruel and unusual punishment, which is meted out every day by administrative agencies and the courts. The premise behind this is very simple. There's only one way to starve the beast. Cut off the flow of money. Cut off the flow of commerce. It only takes a few million people for this thing to have enough groundswell support to drag this country screaming and kicking to its knees. When commerce ceases, the flow of money stops. When the flow of money stops, government will listen. They only operate on your money. And if they don't have it, they can't operate. The end goal here is that no commerce will move. No funding, no payments are made. No money moves. No product moves. Period.
This is a bold proposal.
This is a dangerous proposal. I may not make it to July 4th.
We'll start mailing in tea bags before that, you know? You remember when they did that years ago?
Yes, sir. This is a bold proposal, but here's the deal. You have to understand something. Fortune favors the bold.
That's right. Well, I can't say what I was going to say, but anyway. Something about blue chips, but...
Fortune favors the bold.
You know, the interesting thing, Mike, too, when you think about this whole idea of economic slavery is, I remember back up until about maybe 2 years ago, on the regular networks, TV and such, you would get to a point during the year where they would say, hey, it's hump day because from now for the rest of the year, you're actually working for yourself.
Right.
And you notice they don't do that anymore? They don't say that anymore?
No, they don't. And it consistently moves forward.
Yeah. And you know, back from the 1830s through the 1860s, you had a lot of esoteric arguments about whether slave owners of African American slaves actually owned the slaves, or whether they owned the labor of the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And so economically nowadays, who is it that owns your labor?
The IRS.
And how much of the year do you actually work for yourself versus how much of the year are you working to put money towards things that you do not believe in, things that you not only do not believe in, but things that you morally or ethically
how about
oppose?
Or how about those things which you know to be against your best interest?
Yes, and they're using your money.
We're not just talking about something you oppose. We're talking about paying for your own chains.
Exactly, and paying for them to subvert your constitutional rights using your money.
Listen, people, I recognize that this is a massive undertaking. I'm not throwing this out there lightly. I recognize that the premise under which we're talking about here is mammoth in its scope. It's world-shaking, and it will change everything. That's exactly the desired goal. The idea is to change everything. The idea is to put the genie back in the bottle. The idea is to take the spaghetti out of the pot and straighten it out and put it back in the box. I recognize that this is not going to be an easy task. And I recognize that it's going to be fraught with concern and fear and some discomfort. I'm warning you right now, it will be. Your goal is to be willing to persevere for a short period now, lest you have to later on use the words of Winston Churchill. And in case you're new to this program and you're just joining us now, I'm going to give them to you again, because they clearly represent the exact goals of this 90 days that will change the world. Here they are. Still, if you will not fight for the right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory will be sure and not too costly, you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all the odds against you and only a precarious chance of survival. There may even be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to perish than live as slaves. You have to understand exactly where we're... Look, I recognize that there will be a large pushback from many, many, many liberal organizations. I realize that the AFL-CIO and the SEIU and the unions of the world, the teachers' unions, the government unions, when they get wind of this program, they will be pulling their hair out, because it means a loss of power for them. But remember this: no tyrant willingly gives up power. No tyrant willingly will relinquish power which they have usurped. It does not exist. The goal, the premise, the concept is simply this: we starve this beast into submission. And this will give us 90 days that will change the world. You know, in the days of old, warriors used to sit and say, I'm willing to fight this war because my ancestors will sing songs of me at a later date. They'll sing of my bravery and courage. We do so today with our founders. Some of us do. I invite you to be part of a movement that will change the world in 90 days. Do you have that courage? Do you have the wisdom? We're going to find out.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The president turning over his weekly address to the mother of a 6-year-old boy killed at Sandy Hook Elementary School.
Sometimes I close my eyes and all I can remember is that awful day waiting at the Sandy Hook Volunteer Firehouse for the boy who would never come home.
Francine Wheeler pleading for action to fight gun violence. Republicans in their address slamming the president's proposed $3.8 trillion budget blueprint for the tax increases in it. In the debate over restricting large sugary drinks, an argument against the ban. According to a study by psychologists at the University of California,
when participants in fast food restaurants were offered one large soft drink or a bundle of smaller sodas, the majority chose the bundle, with an average of 4 more ounces than the drink on the original menu.
Fox Radio's Colleen Capon. Fox News. We report, you decide.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, Wits End Classic Barbershop, who is the sponsor of our telephone lines this morning. They're located on the square in West Plains. It's Wits End Classic Barbershop. Thanks to our friends over at West Plains Pawn and Gun. You can find them on the web at westplainspawn.com. They can be reached at 417-256-3000, and they're located on Route 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. 400 guns undercover. Pizza Hut, our friends down there on Porter Wagoner Boulevard. They have an outstanding lunch menu with salad, pizza, and pasta. Excellent opportunity for you to have a great lunch and eat well and something tasty. Our friends over at the Battery Station at 303 Washington Avenue. You can find them on the web at batterystation.com. Telephone 417-257-7799. Our friends over at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance can be found on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. My friend Brian there can be reached at 870-492-4030. They're located a half mile east of Walmart at 3225 Route 62, Mountain Home. My friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, the best damn bakery in 100 miles. She's right off the square in West Plains at 2 Evans Arcade, and you can reach her at 255-2253. And my friend Bill Stone over at Stone Construction. If you're considering doing remodeling, custom or new construction, or anything like commercial, give Bill a call and have him bid on your project at 293-0116.
We believe the better the ingredients, the better the taste to bring to you the greatest tasting pastries possible. At Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, we use organic, locally sourced, and natural ingredients of the highest quality. Every item is handcrafted and baked fresh for you each and every day. Visit Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade on the Courthouse Square in downtown West Plains. Or call ahead 255-2253. Be sure to like and follow Chantilly's Artisan Bakery on Facebook.
Weather is a service of News Talk 107.1 The Point. Contact Josh or Cody at 255-2548 for more information on making weather sponsorships part of your marketing plans.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, well, we have mostly sunny skies, high near 64 degrees, areas of frost before 8 a.m., slight chance of showers after 1 o'clock. And then later on, we have a low around 46. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
Armed American Radio, bringing hard-hitting talk about the right to bear arms for self-defense.
David, does the ammunition shortage have anything to do with the government reports that we're seeing buying 1.6 billion rounds?
I think the ammunition shortage has to do with what George is probably the most knowledgeable person at this table on, and it is supply and demand. We've mentioned many times the factories are working around the clock.
Sundays from 7 till 9 at night on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point.
Ladies and gentlemen, this 90 days that will change the world is an open, peaceful revolt. It is a revolt against tyranny, a revolt against money, a revolt against corruption. It is the moral high ground, the ethical high road, and it is our responsibility and obligation to achieve it. The goals of this program are clear. We will make demands that must be met before we unfreeze the nation. What are those? Let's be clear. All existing members of Congress resign, pending an emergency nationwide election for both state and federal governments. All existing members of Congress must resign. There are a few good ones, but we can count them on both hands. Unfortunately, in this case, we're going to have to remove them as well. And in this emergency election, no current member of Congress may run again. The president must resign, pending an emergency national election to replace him and his lapdog, Biden. Nationwide personal taxation will be set at a level not to exceed 10%. Everyone pays, not 51%, not 49%, not 47%, 100%. No deductions, no loopholes. Period. Nationwide corporate taxation will not exceed a level of 20%. No deductions, no loopholes. You pay that corporation pays its bills. The net income is taxed not to exceed 20%.
You know, we're not going to need a big IRS if you do that.
Well, that's one of the I haven't gotten to about the 8th point yet. 7, I'm sorry. Nationwide, the corporation level for taxation will be 20%, or not to exceed it. If a corporation attempts to avoid paying taxes by hiding or sheltering money overseas, that corporation is thereby immediately prohibited from doing business in the United States. We will call them and shun them. Well, they'll just go overseas. No, they won't, you see, because right now they're paying 35%. And if you drop the taxation rate to 20%, they'll make more money. Promise. Ask them. They'll tell you.
And they'll invest more back into their companies.
And they'll stop hiding trillions overseas in foreign shill accounts. The Federal Reserve will be disbanded. And it must return all national banking and money supply responsibilities to the Treasury as constitutionally mandated within a 3-year time frame.
No, wait a minute. We did that once before, and what was the result?
We ended up, Andrew Jackson did it, and we ended up with, Hamilton did it, and we ended up with a country that was debt-free.
Oh, we had a balanced budget?
Well, actually, we ended up paying all of our national debt off, and actually, for the first time in history, we had a nation with no debt and a surplus.
Didn't Andrew Jackson do that same thing?
Yes. It was Jackson. I'm sorry, not Hamilton. Hamilton was in favor of the National Bank. Jackson was not. Jackson was the only president in all of known American history that actually had our debt 100% paid.
He had some stones.
We had not one penny of debt that we owed to either ourselves or anyone else.
And then he moved all that money into private banks, didn't he?
Yes, because he destroyed the National Federal Reserve at the time, which was the national banking system.
So we survived that, and we had a balanced budget.
We not only survived it, we had a balanced budget, right?
Yeah.
It's not impossible, people. You have to realize that the Federal Reserve is not a private, it's no more federal than Federal Express. It's a private cabal of bankers. Yes, they're going to be unhappy. Yes, they will. The Treasury will be the only authorized, constitutionally mandated organization that will handle monetary policy for the United States, including all money transactions. The Treasury Department will never again be allowed to delegate constitutional duties and obligations to a third party, much less a private cabal of bankers. And the Treasury will be forever prohibited from using fractional banking. In other words, they can't take in $10,000 in deposits and lend out $40,000 in money. Because the idea behind fractional banking is where we've gotten into trouble over and over and over and over and over again. That was what brought us down in 2008. That's what brought us down in 1928, 1929. The simple truth is this: the Federal Reserve is working against our best interest as a nation because they are enriching themselves and enslaving you in debt, and they must be terminated. All administrative agencies that are not constitutionally mandated are immediately disbanded and considered null and void. Now, there are one or two that are constitutionally mandated. You know what they are?
U.S. Marshals Service and the U.S. Customs Service.
Exactly. U.S. Customs and the Marshals Service. Those two can exist. But the rest of the Department of Homeland Security, you're done. You're done. You will also take the 2 billion rounds of ammunition that you've recently acquired and turn it over to the military.
Negative. Civilian marksmanship program.
All right, I'm acceptable to that. The Environmental Protection Agency, the IRS. We don't need an IRS anymore. It will be replaced by a simple monitoring commission or body to ensure that the funds are collected. The ATF. What about the ATF? Well, first of all, there's a Second Amendment that says, very simply, that the rights of individuals to possess and bear firearms shall not be infringed. We don't need an ATF. We don't need a DEA or an SEC or a USDA or an FDA or a DOE or an FCC or an FAA.
EIEIO.
Or any other alphabet soup. There's a link on the website to this story, and in this article, I've given you a list to the USA.gov directory of federal agencies. Let me tell you something. It's an A to Z index that literally runs, it's over 1,000 strong. Over 1,000 strong. No agency shall evermore exist. Period. There will be no agency. There will only be constitutionally mandated organizations like the Customs. We'll continue to have a military, of course. Congress has no authority to subdelegate the limited power of attorney that we the people have given them to agencies, because those agencies are unaccountable and they are unelected. And they pass law in direct violation of the Constitution. The Constitution is very explicit. No law may be passed but by Congress. And yet administrative agencies, the nationwide, are daily, day in and day out, passing rules and regulations that parade about as law and are enacted as law.
Mike,
and that ceases immediately.
Mike, do you notice how, historically, as time goes on, those basic functions that the federal government was set up to accomplish, like national defense, securing our borders, preventing people from bringing stuff across the borders, preventing people from coming into the country illegally. You notice that the farther that the federal government gets into our knickers on the personal level inside the country, the less effective they become at carrying out their core missions per the Constitution?
Well, the reason for that is very simple. There's only so many of them to go around. And if they're all watching us inside the border, they're not watching the outside. This doesn't take the simple truth is that they have split their focus. And, you cannot focus and you cannot focus internally while simultaneously focusing externally. And the borders have been left wide open for a very clear reason. We all know what it is.
Well, the interesting fact for people that don't know it is that currently the union that represents immigration and customs enforcement agents is currently suing their boss, Morton, and they're suing Janet Napolitano because they're not being allowed to do their job.
Correct. They are being told not to follow the law.
And if you have any desire to have an idea about what's going on within the Border Patrol on the border, look on the website for Local 2544, which is the largest of the unions for the Border Patrol. And they have an entire website, and go back through the articles on what's going on with the Border Patrol, and it will shake you.
I get it. Folks, this plan will work. State and federal governments must adopt a balanced budget. It's already in law. We don't need to go out and recreate it. All government accounting will furthermore be done under GAAP, which is called generally accepted accounting principles. And the national, federal government, and state governments shall never again exceed the enumerated powers delegated to them in the constitutions, either state or federal. This is a bold plan. It's going to take a lot of brass. We'll be back in just a moment.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry.
Online at westplainspawn.com.
Top of the line new and used optics from Nikon, Leopold, Burris, Redfield, Zeiss, and Schmidt & Bender. Ask about their selection of binoculars, laser sights, and night vision goggles. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West US Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
Napa Auto Parts in West Plains from now until the end of April is offering an oil change special. 5 quarts of Napa fully synthetic motor oil and a Napa silver oil filter for just $19.99. Save up to $10 with mail-in rebate on wiper blades or spark plugs, and Seafoam motor treatment is only $6.79.
Hi, this is Sheila Murphy, store manager at Big Lots. We're located in the Southern Hills Shopping Center in West Plains, Missouri. Southern Hills is home to the best shopping establishment in South Central Missouri. Come visit some of your favorite department stores, and if a full day of shopping is on your list, there are also plenty of great places to eat when you get hungry. And they're all within walking distance. Southern Hills is the largest shopping center in the area and has everything you will be looking for. No need to leave West Plains. Stay local and shop local with Southern Hills Shopping Center. Proud to serve West Plains and the surrounding communities.
I had this illness that really made me powerless over alcohol, and that insisted that I got drunk. And so I got drunk. It doesn't have anything to do with trying to control it. An alcoholic who picks up the first drink will pick up the second drink. I can't say to anyone, no, don't drink. But I can say that when you decide you don't want to drink, come to AA. The door to AA is always open. Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about 90 days that will change the world. We're talking about a plan to take back America peacefully, civilly, and permanently. I'm not claiming to be some oracle. If you've got suggestions that make this fit better, I'm more than willing to hear them. But I can tell you this. We can no longer stand on the sidelines and wait for someone else to come up with an idea. The time has arrived for us to make or break. We can no longer sit and ponder who will do something. Somebody has to do something. Who is going to stop the tyranny and the treason that is actionable every single day in our nation, state and federal? Time is up. Either you're going to be part of the solution or you're going to be a part of the problem. Today, we as a nation have an opportunity to take this and make a difference immediately. You'll need to do some preparation. Yes, there will be some discomfort. Yes, there will be some disagreement on how and where and why and under what circumstances. But I dare say, our founders and framers went through those same issues. But they all had one end goal. And that's where they differed from where we are today. They differed from us because they recognized that this one issue was paramount. that America have freedom and liberty and be free of government tyranny. How they approached that? Let me tell you something. Our framers physically had fistfights. They argued incessantly. It took them years to accomplish. But they gave us a perfect template. We don't have to go through that. All we have to do is take the plan that's been given to us and put it back on track. Businesses and individuals can participate in this program. It begins July 4th. I've even figured out a few of the slogans for you. We're not leaving until you do. America, free at last. Freedom and liberty. We the people is all of us. Red and yellow, black, white, brown. Enough is enough. We want our nation back. Our Constitution is the law of the land. End government lawlessness. Government under siege, not citizens. Government has boundaries. We the people enforce them. The plan calls for 90 days that will change the world. And it won't take more than 90 because states are required by law to pay their debts. But without your money, they can't accomplish that. States who are starved will in turn starve the federal government. You, businesses, all of whom withhold money, withhold taxes, withhold real estate payments, withhold banking payments, stop paying your auto loans, your credit card companies, your revolving lines of credit, pay no real estate taxes. Freeze all money. Freeze all commerce. They will capitulate. The end goal is to bring all commerce, funding, and payments, all movement of goods and products and services, all flow of money to a screeching halt. You know, we will have only one more opportunity to try to restore our republic. And this is it. Now, you may not necessarily agree with 100% of my plan, and if you don't, that's fine. Tell me. Tell me why. Submit your comments. You can email me at mike@americasvoicenow.org. You can go on and you can read the website, and you can go out and post your own comment. You can write an opposing story, and I'll more than happily publish it. I'm not the great Oz behind some green curtain. That's Ozbama. What I'm saying is this. We have one opportunity to save our nation. And businesses and individuals who are concerned about the course that we are heading and know the inevitable calamity of the end of that road will have to begin to take some action today. This will kick off July 4th. You should now be preparing your family by making sure that you have enough food in your house from July 4th onward to last for 90 days, at minimum. Quite frankly, smart individuals are gearing up for a lot longer than that and have been for some time. And it may take you between now and July 4th to pull that together. You will not stop paying your bills. You're only going to withhold this money and put it into escrow accounts. Or preserve the money on the side. I'm not suggesting that we never pay our bills. I'm suggesting that we freeze all commerce and activity for a 90-day window or until the federal and state governments scream uncle. Loudly, clearly, publicly. July 4th, 2013. The new Independence Day. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, last weekend we had a caller that called in, and he had some situations with the law where he got to court several times, and then the judge called him a repeat offender, and I thought it was pretty interesting, but it was important. He said, "I'm not a repeat offender. I'm a consistent infractor." And I thought that was pretty good, and I came up with some other new language responses because when we talk about changing people's thinking and changing the way that they talk about things, there's some things that came up for me, and I'm going to go through them real quick. Gun violence. Somebody talks to me about gun violence, I want to talk about crime control. And how about the improbability of an inanimate object being violent? Gun violence, okay? If a tree falls on somebody in the woods, is that tree violence? If you get killed in an avalanche, was that snow violence? Okay, inanimate objects don't commit violence. Let's talk about crime control. People talk about remember the kids. Remember the kids at whatever.
Newtown, Columbine,
yeah, right,
Pickett.
Okay. All right. How many times are you willing to walk over the graves of those children and use that to enact laws that would have done nothing to protect them but negatively impact people's civil rights?
But you see, all of those laws are not geared and designed to do anything but elicit great control.
Oh, yeah.
That's the principle. That's the premise. That's the only basis by which they're even considering those laws.
Yeah.
And it's time that we halt that, by the way. This program, it accomplishes exactly that. We will begin to live by the Constitution, or we're going to have to agree that it no longer is valid, and that we now live in a nation of lawlessness.
NRA members, I used to have to go through this in my former employment. It was like if you were an NRA member, you pretty much kept your mouth shut, okay, just to get along. I got news for you. It's one of the oldest civil rights organizations in the country. I am an NRA member. I'm a life member and proud of it. And people say to me, "Oh, you sound like an NRA member." You're damn right I am. Pro-choice and then pro-life. And, this is a subject that I have a real struggle with. But somebody came out the other day and said something that kind of hit me. And it had to do with, what about the civil rights of the unborn? Why don't people have civil rights regardless of their age or stage of development? And I said, ooh, that's a good one. That takes some thought. But, when people say to me, are you pro-choice, are you pro-life? It's like, I'm thinking pro-life. I'm pro-life, okay? If it's got a heartbeat, it's a living being, okay?
Well, according to Melissa Harris Perry from MSLSD, we don't even own our children after birth.
Well, this goes back to that guy that's under trial right now, and the fact that nobody will put any of that stuff on the news media.
Not a single network has mentioned it, except CNN mentioned it once.
Because it makes abortion clinics look bad. Undocumented migrants. This is a term that is so near and dear to me. Undocumented migrants. I don't know what an undocumented migrant is. I know what an illegal alien is. It's somebody who has entered our country in violation of U.S. immigration law. I know what an illegal alien is, and I will continue to call them illegal aliens until such time as we decide to call drug dealers unlicensed pharmacists.
Well, I'll tell you something right now. One of the other demands out of this particular project has got to be that the borders are absolutely and unequivocally sealed. You give illegal immigrants in this nation, illegal aliens, a limited period of time to come forward, and after that, they will be prosecuted with a lifetime commitment. I don't care if it's politically correct or not. Here's the deal. We cannot allow our nation to be destroyed from within. Folks, we're wrapping up the second segment of today. Later in the next hour, we're going to be talking with Earl Williamson from the Missouri Tax-Free Rally that's occurring on Monday. On April 15th. And we will continue to talk about this project in 90 days that will change the world. We'll be back.
From West Plains, Missouri, it's KBMV Birch Tree, the Ozarks' best news talk.